y'all gonna get me started today? How about it? The discipleship, baby, is costly. Let's get into this thing, baby. We got to talk about the ground rules. I'm not here to play today, baby. The Dallas Cowboys on tonight. We got to get this in and get to the game, baby. It's going down. But before it goes down with Dallas and the Brady Bunch, we got to talk about minority real estate millionaires, baby. We're making millionaires up here. We not playing. This is about building wealth for generations. So today, you know the ground rules. Keep them phones muted. Yes, get over there in the chat section if you want to talk and give me that feedback, baby. I'm going to need it all day. We got to start with a little Rayism today because some of y'all shucking and jiving, and I got to put it all in perspective for you today. There's three things, three main goals that you got to accomplish in your life. If you want to be all that God has for you, not just trying to be this millionaire and all this money and all that, you got to take care of yourself. Come on, somebody. There's three goals in life, baby. I need you to focus on. From now until forever, focus on these three things. Oh, come on, somebody. You're going to be all right. First of all, I got to get you to live a healthy lifestyle. Oh, come on now. You, Mr. Ray, you getting all in my business. I just want to hear, no. It doesn't do you any good to make all this money, to do all of this, and then you can't enjoy it. Come on, baby. I got to get you to practicing a healthy lifestyle. You got to eat right. You got to put good things in this body if you want good things out. As a man puts in his body, that's what he's going to get out. So you got to eat right, baby. You got to get some proper rest. You're staying up all hours of the night, drinking, smoking, doing all. Come on, somebody. You got to do it right. Then you got to get some exercise. Move around, baby. The body was made to move. Move. I don't care if you walk. I don't care what you do something. But you got to have a healthy lifestyle, baby. And then if you want wealth, you got to do this thing, baby. You just can't spend. You got to save some. So of the money that you make, 100% of the money that you make, you got to make sure that you're living on 60% because you got to have housing and food and cars and gas and clothes. You got to have all that. So spend 60% of your money on that. But then I got to get you to invest 30% of what you make. And then you got to save 10. The goal, baby, live beneath your means. If you're making $100,000 a year, baby, don't spend $100,000. You're going to be broke. Live beneath your means. Only live on 50, 60% of it. That way, if something happens, you got extra money, baby. Come on. Not only do you need to be healthy, not only do you need to be wealthy, baby, but you got to be wise. Come on now. Oh, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. You got to read quality books. You got to get off that. So you're just scrolling Instagram, Facebook. That's all you do all day. You ain't going to learn nothing from that, baby. Oh, I got to get some likes. Oh, I got to get them. Come on now. There ain't no profit in that. And then you got to learn from your mistakes. You're not going to have wins all the time. Sometimes you got to take an L. And when you take that L, make sure you learn something from it, baby. Mr. Ray is not playing, baby. You got to be healthy, wealthy, and you got to use wisdom. Oh, come on. We about to get this thing started. Being a real estate millionaire, come on. You heard me say it. It's a mindset. If you don't have the right mindset while you poor, and some of you are, you're going to have the same problems if you get money. What money does, it's going to exacerbate it. If you're a scoundrel now, you're going to be more of a scoundrel when you get money. But if you got your life right, if you got the proper mindset, when you get money, you're going to use it right. Oh, come on. I got to get to the teaching today. Y'all playing around with Mr. Ray. We got to get to the activities for today because we got the big game going, baby, and we got to get this thing done. But I don't want to rush too far, but I got to get to the game, baby. We talking about the BRRRR strategy, baby. You got to buy it, you got to rehab it, you got to refinance it, you got to rent it, and then you gotta do it all over again, baby, repeat it. So last week we talked about how to buy it right. We talked about you got to be in the right location, huh? You got to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do and buy that property right. But this week we got to talk about, once you buy it right, how you gonna rehab it, baby? How you gonna get the rehabilitation going? And then next week we'll refi. We'll talk about the refi, how you refi the process, and then rent it. And then the last one is repeat. You already know. You know how to repeat, don't you? Do it time and time and time again. Get the money back, repeat, do it again. So let's get into this thing. So our agenda for today, we're going to talk about the big piece of doing rehab is you got to get the right contractor. But not only have you got to get the right contractor, before you get the right contractor, you got to make sure that you determine what your estimated cost for repair is going to be. And so some of you all that been with me for a while, you know we got 3 ways that we can look at how we rehab this thing. We got the average cost model, we got the average cost of project model, and then we got the detailed cost model. We're going to walk through that, baby, and then we're going to have a little Q&A. So when you're selecting the contractor that's going to rehab your BRRRR property, because now we're in the second piece. We bought the property, now we got to get it rehabbed. We already run our numbers and we know approximately how much we should have paid with our maximum allowable offer. We got that. You got to make sure that whoever you're dealing with is licensed and bonded. This is key right here. Don't miss this, because you get these fly-by-night contractors out there, they get out there and they're doing work for you. If something happens, they're not insured, you're liable. Come on, somebody, you don't want to be liable. You want to make sure they have their own license and that they're bonded in case something goes wrong on the job. And you got to make sure that you do a good job of checking their background and their references. This is key right here, because you want to know who you're dealing with, right? And so as you put out a bid and you want to receive these bids back, after you get these bids back, don't just, oh, this one look good right here, got the right numbers, efficient, gonna get done on time. You better check it out first, because you got some people out there, baby, running below the radar that if you don't check them out, you're gonna be in trouble. And when I say check references, I mean actually call people. I mean actually go by and see the work that's being done, right? Check them out. Check out their background. Are they good? Do they do what they say they're gonna do? Check them out. And then be sure to look at the work that the contractor has previously. Ask the contractor, hey, can you give me a job that you just completed, that you just worked on? So you can kind of go out and see what the work has been done. Make sure that you look at the work, baby. And then be sure that you have a signed contract on the work that's going to be performed before you get the work performed, baby. Don't wait till you get into it. Oh, you know, sign. No. You got to have a legally binding contract before you get into this thing. We're talking about selecting a contractor, baby. And this is key. Never pay more than 1/3 of the total cost up front to start the project. If the contract come in and say, hey, look, man, I'm gonna need 50% or 75% of the money to get this started, you need to walk away right there and have nothing to do with it. At a minimum, you should only have to pay for the material costs up front, okay? So make sure you're not paying too much. Well, if you get a contract, say, I need all of the money up front, run, baby. Run as fast as you can from that contractor, because you're getting ready to get swindled. And then be sure when you have the contract, make sure that you get a detailed repair estimate and make sure you have a time of completion in there. And if you can, put some penalties in there if they don't complete it on time. That's one of the things that I've learned on the 2 projects that I'm working on right now. I didn't have a penalty for the completion time. And so each project I've had, the 2 projects that I'm flipping right now, both of them have gone over. And I didn't have no hammer to call the contractor and say, hey, you said you was gonna get it done by then. What I'm gonna do in the future is I'm gonna put a penalty per day, $10 a day, if you don't get it done after this day we stated in here, because the contractor has no incentive to get your stuff done. And by that time, they probably got most of your money. So be very careful to get a detailed estimate. We're talking about selecting a contractor, baby, to do this most important rehab that you got going on. And then you got to manage the rehab. After you selecting them and they got started, I'm gonna need you to manage that rehab. Go by and check on the progress. I like to check on my stuff weekly and at a minimum bi-weekly, right? If it's a 4-month project, I might not check every week, but I'm at least gonna check bi-weekly to see what the progress is and to make sure that the project is progressing as I see that it should be progressing based upon the contract that we have signed. And then be aware of changes to the scope of work. A lot of times contractors will get in and they'll find stuff. Oh, we found this, that's gonna be another $400. Oh, we found that, up under this slab over here, there was this and that. Hey, don't let these contractors creep on you, baby, because they will wear you out. And before you know it, that budget that you have for $10,000 done turned into $20,000. So you got to be aware and manage the scope of the project. And then make sure the property is cleaned up daily. Now you say, why is this important, Mr. Ray? When I say cleaned up, I mean, if you have a project and they got 2x4s, and they got plywood, they got plaster and paint line everywhere, and you come on the project, you got to make sure that you can walk through the project and keep it clean. I don't expect for it to be totally clean, but every evening I expect that property to be cleaned up to the point where I can walk through there if I need to and not stumble over everything, okay? I need to make sure that property, and I put that in my contract. I want that property be able to make sure you put up all your stuff, put up all your material, all your tools and all that. You got to have that, baby. And if you're paying for the material, you need to make sure you're watching what you're paying for, baby. Manage that material cost, because a lot of times you'll give contractor money, say, to go buy the material, and they'll get stuff that you ain't even authorized. So you got to make sure that you stay on top of that. And then sometimes you got to be prepared to stop the project, baby. If the contractor, if you go over there and it looks like he ain't been there for 4 or 5 days, he off on another, and contractors will do this. They'll start your project and then they'll go work on another project, and they have 4 or 5 projects going at the same time. And looks like your project, you got to know, hey, look, we had an agreement. Here's the contract. You ain't got this done in this amount of time. I need to exit out of this. The money that I paid you, here we go. Let's get out of this thing. Have an exit strategy and have somebody ready to go that can finish that project for you. I've had this happen. A guy quit on me in the middle of the project. He said my expectations were too high. What do you mean my expectations were too high? I expect you to do the job that you signed up for. What happened was he didn't have the skill and abilities that he told me that he had prior to starting the job. And when we got into it, he had to call somebody else in to fix some plumbing that he said that he didn't have the expertise. Well, you told me, oh, come on, someone. He told me he had the expertise. Cut your losses, have an exit strategy, and have somebody ready to pick that up and to go. All right, so now we got to talk about how do you figure the cost. We done selected the contractor, but we need to know what the costs are going up. So we'll have some idea about what this contractor should be charging us. So we have a couple of ways we can figure that. We can use the average cost per square feet model. We'll talk through that. You can use the average cost per project model, and then you can use the detailed cost model. Let's talk to both of them. The first one is the average cost per feet model. So this is pretty cut and dry. It's a pretty quick and dirty. You can just say, what is the total square feet of the property? So you use an average price per square foot. And you say, let's say, for instance, it's $25 a square foot. That's the estimate that you believe that it's going to cost to get this property rehab. And when we talk about the average cost per square foot, we mean everything in that square foot has to be completed. That's roofing, siding, CH, flooring, everything. A total rehab is going to be included in that cost per square foot. So let's look at an example here. An example would be if you had a 1,600 square foot property, right? And you say the average cost per square foot to fix this property up, total rehab, everything from top to bottom is $25. Well, we can figure what that should be. We say, okay, if it's 1,600 square feet times $25, that means the total rehab is going to be $40,000. That's the rehab cost, baby. So that's the cost per square foot. You take the total square footage, multiply it times what the cost is per square foot, then you have your total estimate cost. Well, Mr. Ray, where'd you get that $25 a square foot from? Well, it depends on the contractor. On high-end flips, it could be anywhere from $25 to $30 a square foot. If you got an average contractor, this is kind of what I call the middle of the road contractor. It's usually costing you 15 to $20 a square foot. And then the old handyman guy, he's gonna come in cheap, baby, but he ain't gonna have the high quality work. So you got to determine what type of contractor you're going to be using when you have this variable cost per square foot. If you're doing a flip, I like to go with a contractor. If I'm buying and holding using the BRRRR strategy, I like to go with the contractor because I'm trying to save as much money as I can, but I'm also trying to get a good quality product at the end of the day. Okay, let's look at the second model. This is the average cost per project model. So what is the average cost per project? So what projects are we talking about, Mr. Ray? Well, we're talking about windows. If you got the average cost to get a window replaced, that is take out the old window, frame it, put in a new window, paint it, everything, is about $300 a window. That's an all-in cost. That includes the cost of the window. I can get that price today, I know that. And then if you got to replace a roof, I know that the average cost to do a roof that is all in, labor and everything, is about $77.50 a square roof. Excuse me, a square foot here in Oklahoma. If I was going to do interior painting, again, this depends upon the size of the property. It's normally about $2,000 to $2,500. Exterior painting is about $25,000 to $3,000. Replacing central heat and air, $5,000 to $8,000. That's all in, labor, materials, and everything. And if you're doing a kitchen and bathroom update, you can normally get that done all in for about $30 a square foot. So you see, each one of these is a project. You get into a BRRRR strategy and the windows is all right, you don't have to worry about that. All you need, you may say, well, all I need is painting. I need inside, outside painting. I need to do the kitchen and the bathroom. Then you know you're going to price this per project. So that's the average cost per project model. Now here's an example. Assume you got this 1,000 square foot home, and in the bathroom, it's 200 square feet. The kitchen is 400 square feet, and this property has 10 windows. So in this project, we're just doing 3 projects, right? We're going to do the windows, we're going to do the bathroom, and we're going to do the kitchen. So that's 3 projects. So let's figure out what the cost is going to be on this project. Let's say we're only going to rehab the kitchen, the windows, and then also we're going to throw in the interior paint. So that's four different projects. So we're going to say the kitchen is 400 square feet, and we're just going to assume it's going to cost us $40 per square foot. So we know the kitchen is going to cost us $16,000 to rehab. That's all in, baby. That's materials, labor, everything. And for the bath, let's just assume 200 square feet. Again, we're just going to use $40. That's just an example. That's not a number. I'm just assuming that it's $40. We'd say the 40 times the 200 square feet would be $8,000 to do the bath. And then the windows, if we got 10 windows, $300 a window, gonna cost you $3,000 to do those windows. And assuming that you got to paint the interior, 1,000 square feet. And I didn't put the dollar per square foot, but that's $2.50 a square foot. So we're just going to assume that the interior paint is going to cost you about $2,500. Total rehab cost on this average cost per project would be $29,500. So there you go. That is the average cost per project. And then finally, we have the detailed cost repair model. Well, you're going to determine the cost of the materials and the labor. So you're going to have to be a little bit more detailed here. So let's just assume, what is the average cost for labor and tile for flooring? I say it's right about $2.50. That's labor, right? Just for tiling and flooring. What's the average cost for the materials? Well, you can get laminate flooring from $2 to $3 a square foot. Assuming that you got 1,000 square foot home, the labor is going to be $2,500. The material, again, is going to be $3,000. So the total cost to do this flooring is going to cost you $5,500. That's the detail cost repair model. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. What are your questions? I am here today to answer your questions. We are in the house. I know I probably went through that a little fast, but I'm willing to step back through anything in that presentation, see if you got any questions. What are your questions today? How y'all doing out there today? Any questions?
Mr. I got a question about the going back on your earlier slide when you mentioned about the references. And I guess if you can kind of go and I guess maybe go in a little bit more detail how you handle that if you're seeking out like a new contractor. I guess like in my head, I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna, if I do ask them for a reference, they'll probably maybe give me somebody who, you know, of course, nobody's going to give like a bad reference, ideally, you would think. So I guess, how do you typically go about dealing with that?
Well, I'm going to take their word for it. They're going to give me, I already know, first of all, they're not going to give me anybody that complained or they did bad work for them. They're only going to give me, you know, references that are good. So one thing I like to do is make sure that the reference is somebody that they just completed work on, right? I don't want somebody you did last year. I don't want somebody you did last month. I want a reference that you just did, and I want a good number. And I'm actually going to call that reference, and I'm actually going to try to go by and see the work that was done. So it's the same way when I'm trying to screen a tenant. The tenant can tell me that they work such and such, and that they lived at this house, and they can give me their friend's number, this and that. A lot of times you just got to do your due diligence and do the best you can. If you're dealing with a contractor that has integrity, that, you know, that's doing good work, they're not going to have a problem with giving you 4 or 5 references. If they only give you one reference, beware. Okay, just make sure that you are checking those references and doing the best job you can on verifying. At least get 3 references if you can. But again, there's no way that you can say that this contractor has not had a bad experience with somebody, because they probably have, but just be aware they're only going to give you their good references. Any other questions?
When it comes to flooring, has there been someone that provided pictures, but come to find out it was pictures of somebody else's work?
Yeah, I don't do pictures. Because you can send me a picture of anything. I want to go and I want to physically see the work that's been done. So never accept pictures. And a lot of times contractors will send you pictures. And I don't know if they did that work or not. So I don't rely on pictures. I want to see it for myself.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey, Ray, so on the never pay more than a third of the cost, right? What about purchasing the material on your own? I mean, me being from a purchasing background, you always think you can get a better deal. So have you done that before?
I have. And what I like to do is I like for them to give me 2 bids. I want a bid where it's just labor only, and then I want the all-in bid, right? I get a chance to see, you know, I know a little bit about how much, you know, supplies cost, toilets, backsplash, counters. You know, I got some information about that. So I'll try to gauge and see if they're trying to gouge me a little bit. Now, I know a lot of times contractors have to make a little bit of money on material because they got to go get it. it has to be delivered, so they got to add a little bit on it. But if they're trying to gouge me, I want to know that. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll make sure give me your bid, just labor only. I'll buy the materials, right? But then I want your bid all in, and I'll make a decision from there. That's how I try to cut down on, my ability to be able to purchase stuff at a better cost maybe than they can.
All right, appreciate it.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
All right, who else got some?
Just to kind of touch on what the gentleman just said about is it actually like you could actually buy it, buy whatever the material is at a better rate than a contractor would? Because I would imagine contractors buying it in bulk.
Well, it depends on the contractor. You're right. A lot of the A contractors, they have relationships with these with Lowe's and Home Depot because they buy in bulk. So most of the time, especially if it's a big project, then you're better off letting the contractor get that, right? But if it's not, if it's something like, let's say all he's doing is he's going to install a vanity, a toilet, and he's just going to do some tiling. Well, I can probably go to the store and get that cheaper to him. But what I got to worry about is, okay, I got to go get it. I got to put it in my truck. I got to deliver it to the site. I got to take it off, my truck. So is all that worth it? A lot of times it's not. So if I can, I like an all-in bid where the contractor is going to purchase the property, knowing that he's going to get a better deal than I am, but he's also going to add in a little extra because he's got to get it delivered. He's got to, he's got to prep it and do all that. So it just depends. The contractor is the key here. Selecting the right contractor that's not going to gouge you, that's going to give you the best possible price based on his ability to have the relationships with the Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever he's getting the material from.
I have a question. As far as the stipulations about the agreement when the project's going to be done. You say you want to maybe if it goes past the date, you're going to adjust things like that, penalties. And so what's the process of you coming up with this because this is sound like a contract,
right?
And then you say that this is a binding deal. How do you know that what you have written up is going to be a solid deal that'll help you if worst case scenario it's an issue? Okay,
so again, if it's in writing, then we can go based on what's in writing. So what I like to do is say, okay, it's going to take you a month to get this project done, 30 days. For every day that you go past the 30 days, I'm going to put in the contract, there's a $10 a day penalty. I'm just using a number. But then also I'll give the contractor an incentive. I'll say for every day that you get done earlier than 30 days, I will add $10 more a day. Now, again, $10 may not be the number, but you got to figure out what that number is, and then you got to hold them accountable for it. So let's say they get to the end of the project and they're not done. And the project is a $100,000 project. You've only paid them $75,000 to this point, right? And so they got to finish that project in order to get that other $25,000. And as they go, every day they go past, we're deducting money from that $25,000. Same way on the other end. They finish 2 weeks early, then I'm going to give them extra money based on whatever that cost is per day, and give them that bonus because they finished early. Again, it's in the contract, it's stipulated there, it's your word and his word. The only way you can solve it if you come to an issue is you may end up in court. If you're going to get them to agree that, hey, this is in writing, this is what we said, then you're going to end up in court.
So the document you have in writing, you have it typed out.
Yes.
And it's
binding. If it's signed by you and the contractor, it's binding.
Gotcha. Okay. Not notarized or anything like that.
No, it doesn't have to be notarized.
Okay.
Just valid signatures is good enough.
Okay. Gotcha.
What else y'all got? The BRRRR strategy, baby. This part of it right here. The rehab is a very key piece of it. You got to make sure, because when you bought the property, you estimated a certain amount of repairs, right? Based on what we just talked about. You went through the process and you estimated what the repairs are. You know what the ARV is. And so now you know what your maximum allowable offer is. You purchased that property based on the fact that you thought the rehab cost was going to be this. If it's not that, then that's where you're going to start getting into problems, and you're not going to make the money that you thought you were going to make. And then maybe there's going to be some issues with the BRRRR strategy. So this is a key piece. You estimate it to be 25,000. You need to make sure the contractor is coming in around that time. Any other questions? All good questions. Good questions. What else you got? Any other questions? Y'all ready for the big game? Ready for the game? Who you got? Oh, where my Cowboys fans at? Where my Brady fans at? Let's go get them, baby. And those of you all that are not fans, I don't know what y'all gonna do tonight. Maybe y'all can go and work on trying to figure out how you can get one of these houses, right? How you can get in this real estate game. Any other questions? We are about to shut this thing down. Remember, I need you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I also need you to know that while this salvation is free, baby, the discipleship is costly. It's going to cost you, baby, if you want to follow the Christ that I'm following. Come on, somebody. Last question, we out of here. All right, well, we out of here then. So next week, we got to talk about, so we already talked about how we buy it, right? We bought it. This week, we rehabbed it. Next week, we got to talk about refi. How you going to refi this property? And you got to make sure you get the right numbers when you refi, because that's the key in the BRRRR strategy, because your goal is to all the money that you put in the deal, you want to be able to get most of that money back so you can go out and do it again, baby. It's the BRRRR strategy. I'm getting cold thinking about it, baby. I got to go get my coat on, get back to the BRRRR strategy. Y'all have a great day. Go Cowboys. Get the